Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And welcome to Mynock Monday on Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. I've decided that this entire week will have a theme. Each episode that you will hear this week will be focused on the theme of prequels, the Star Wars prequels. Yes, you heard that right, and this is not an April Fool's Day joke. When I say prequels, however, I mean more than just episodes 1, 2, and 3. I am also referring to Rogue One, and I am also referring to Solo. Anything that comes before the original Star Wars trilogy in the chronology. Today, I want to talk about, as I like to talk about on Mynock Mondays, motivation, positivity, and optimism appertaining to Star Wars. Today's topic is how many people, have come to change their minds on episodes 1, 2, and 3, and also how many people have grown up on these films and are now coming to the age that they are realizing that means a lot more to them than it means to some of us older fans. So let's jump right in. We all, of course, remember what a splash The Phantom Menace made when it was released in May of 1999. And what I mean by splash is immediate outcries of anger and hate, which lead to suffering, as Yoda says. Many of us, my generation and older, who had grown up on the original trilogy, were offended by The Phantom Menace. And people went on and on about how much they hated it. There were even songs. There was that one band, you may remember, that made a song called George Lucas Raped Our Childhoods. It was ugly. Now, I am not here to defend The Phantom Menace and say it's some kind of underrated masterpiece. No, I believe that from many perspectives, it is not a particularly good film. But one thing that many of us, I do not think, considered is that there was a whole new generation of Star Wars fans where that was their introduction to Star Wars. Now, many of them have negative feelings for The Phantom Menace, even now. But a good deal others it holds a special place in their hearts. Because it did for them probably what the original film did for a lot of us older fans. The nostalgic factor, which I've talked about on this podcast, is a power not to be denied. And the nostalgia, I'm sure, that many of these fans feel for the prequels is a powerful force indeed. Now, many of us, of course, crossed our fingers and said, well, maybe episode 2 won't be as bad. Now, the one movie that I have the hardest time saying anything nice about is episode 2, Attack of the Clones. But I'm not getting into the negativity here. It did not live up to people's expectations. And then, of course, Revenge of the Sith, which some of us older fans are more okay with than any of the other prequels, still didn't live up to what we wanted. And still, I think, like Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith is still a poor movie when it comes to filmmaking. But that's a discussion for another time. So let's talk about it. Those fans who were introduced to Star Wars by the prequel trilogy are going to generally feel different about it than those of us who had grown up on the original trilogy. Now, I believe that the prequel movies may be a little bit better than some of us older fans give them credit for, but they are no means great movies, at least not in my opinion. But I have discovered, like many other fans, going back and watching the prequels with a more positive attitude. And not a positive attitude in terms of denying what's there that's not good. Not pretending it doesn't exist. But going into it with a desire to focus on the things that I like more than the things that I don't like. Hate watching will get you nowhere. Unless you're watching it to get a good laugh of how bad it is, but that can be applied to... And there are many other films that are more suited for that kind of approach. Dungeons and Dragons, anyone? So, just a few months ago, I went back and watched episodes 1, 2, and 3 with a friend of mine. And I went in with a desire to focus on the things I like. Because, truth be told, there are many things I like about the prequels. And that I've liked from the moment I saw it, and still like, and love, even. We'll discuss some of those in further episodes. But this last time I watched them with a more positive attitude and desire to focus on the good things. And I came away really having enjoyed myself. Admittedly, Attack of the Clones was probably the hardest for me to watch. Because, as I said, I have very few kind things to say about it. And I think I've discovered that there is a love of the prequels in me that for many years I had suppressed. Many older fans are coming now to the realization that they enjoy the prequels more than they did in previous years. I think that is because, as we have seen new generations of Star Wars fans grow up, kids who grew up on the prequel trilogy, kids who grew up on Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, which are direct outgrowths of the prequel trilogy, we are seeing a wave of positivity about the prequels come and wash away some of that ugly negativity. Now, I can understand people not liking the prequel trilogy, but you have to admit that some of the stuff that we saw people do to respond to the prequels was really heinous and really vile and really angry and far more vicious than I think it needed to be. But, there was a lot of hope riding on these films, and they didn't quite live up to snuff. But I think there was a good number of older fans who enjoyed things about the prequels, or even loved the prequel movies altogether, who were afraid to come out and say, I enjoy these movies. Now I think with these younger generations growing up and more of the Star Wars fandom being in the hands of the younger fans, I think some of us older fans, myself included, and some of the people at the Force Center podcast, who I would definitely recommend you check out their words on the subject, are willing to come out and say, no, I enjoy this. And even having some of them have their minds changed. There is now a movement called the prequelists. These are people who admit they enjoy the prequels. Not necessarily love, but enjoy. And I think I would count myself as a member of such a movement. Star Wars Celebration, which is the big Star Wars convention, is coming up in a few weeks. In 2 weeks, I believe. Next weekend, actually, in Chicago. To celebrate, believe it or not, the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace, there will be a panel. In attendance, one of the guests will be Ahmed Best, the actor who played Jar Jar Binks. If you are familiar with Ahmed Best, he went through an ugly part of his life because of the way that many people treated him because of his role as Jar Jar Binks. I have mentioned on previous podcasts my only problem with Jar Jar Binks is his lack of contribution to the story of the Phantom Menace. However, I am perfectly okay with the character, even though he is awfully annoying. But I don't have any problem with what Ahmed Best brought to the film. And I, for one, if I were to meet him, would want to get a big hug, would want to get a picture, would want to get his autograph. And he will be in attendance, and I hope for sure that he gets a standing ovation for all that he has done. The storms that he has weathered, and what he brought to Star Wars. I understand the purpose of the character, and I'm totally fine with him being there. Though I do wish he had actually contributed to the story, but that's another discussion. So I just want to say, if you're out there listening, and you like the prequels, or even love the prequels, do not be afraid, do not feel pressure to hide your opinions, because all opinions are valid. And I say you should come out and be loud and proud about your enjoyment. As I am, and I think as many other people are. And if you're the younger fans who grew up watching that, don't let us old grumpy people tell you what you should think. If they mean something special to you, embrace it. So to kick off this week of our celebration of the prequels, I just want to say there is so much in them that is enjoyable. And I think if you're out there and you are afraid that people are going to bully you because of your opinion, don't be afraid. Come out and say it loud and proud. If you don't like the movies, and you don't find any enjoyment out of the prequels, that's perfectly fine too. But the point is, we need, I think, as fans, to be a little bit more open to the fact that more and more people are coming out and saying how much they love the prequel trilogy. And I think we need to be respectful, we need to be kind in all of our online discourses, especially in these times. So let's celebrate. Let's enjoy this creation. Let's enjoy the stories that George Lucas wanted to tell. I admit that even though I think some of the artistic choices are really poor, George Lucas got to tell the story he wanted to tell. And take it or leave it. It's art. And everyone needs to have the right to enjoy it if they so wish. My name is Brendan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mynock Monday on Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Brennan Blue. That's BRENNENBLUE. You can follow me on YouTube at Tasty Waffle. TASTYWAFFLE. You can follow me on Facebook at Vernon Marr. And of course, please subscribe to this podcast if you enjoy what I've said. May the Force be with you.